Soon, the John Geyer family will be using their TV to help compute their federal income tax, learn French, improve math skills, and quarterback an NFL team.
Here they come to the line of scrimmage.
Come on, man. That's a mobile game. I mean, come on. The racing game could be interesting.
Every single one of these is a mobile game.
Well, shit. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm trying to say, like, when I think of mobile game in terms of aesthetics as well as gameplay, that's what I mean. Like the racing game, maybe they figured out a way to make the racing game fun with the controller. Maybe you twist but again, you can do it with the phone. There's nothing different about the phone versus that.
Let's take a look at the math program. Children race their gorillas through the jungle, encountering animal obstacles and an endless variety of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division problems.
And for learning fun from the electric company.
Now this one's a little tougher. I got it.
And when you add the keyboard component available this summer, Intellivision can change your family's life. It simplifies financial planning, even custom designs a Jack LaLanne exercise program for you.
1, 2,
Play it, driver.
1.
There is an entire library of Intellivision programs designed to grow right along with your family's interests. Discover Intellivision. It can change your family's life.
So, okay. So now it's going to be with... This is what Tommy was saying on Atari Age in terms of why the price has jumped up 50% in the past 6 to 7 months when it comes to this. So it said 150 was before engineering started and before we spoke to retailers. I'm not sure how you can price something before you do engineering on something, by the way. So the price range was 150 to 180. I always said it's going to be higher than lower. They said then they picked the chip. It went to $200. Then they said they spoke to retailers who said it would seem too cheap at only $200. It would be just a retro or a flashback when they spoke to retailers, which to me would be strange because there's no flashbacks that have ever existed in my head that were even close to $200. Or standalones were usually between $50 and $100 historically, weren't they? Even the old Atari ones.
Yes.
So that to me is a strange thing. Why would a retailer think that? Anyway. I'm not saying he wasn't telling the truth. I just think that's really strange advice to give someone on pricing something.
Yeah.
Go over $200 because the Switch Lite's $200. People are buying because it's quality. It doesn't look cheap to them. So this is going to be a $250 console before it gets shipped out to you or sales tax. If you're buying in most states have sales tax here. We're creeping up to $275, $280, $290. All things considered, you have to spend here. So now it's no longer a value system. At this point.
No.
Now it's no longer, this is something I can pick up. It's not an impulse buy for sure. It's not something that, someone who has no idea what this is about is going to see this and say, oh, it's only $250. I'm going to grab it. We're totally out of that range. At $150, $160, you can maybe reach and make the argument. Under $200, not at $250.
At $250, you are directly competing with Nintendo.
Yes. Well, Switch Lite's $50 less at $199.
Right. You're going to have people who are really, really attached to the name that some of these mobile quality games are going to be carrying to get them to fork out $250 when you have clear alternatives. Yes. And if graphics and things like that aren't supposed to matter, once again, sorry, Tommy's always saying things like, oh, well, the graphics don't matter, it's about getting people together with friends and family. Well, then you can buy a fucking PlayStation 4 for $200.
You can.
You can have fun with friends and family in a living room with other game systems that aren't going to be as expensive as this is going to be when it comes out. If you're not that concerned about having the latest and greatest, which was supposed to be a focal point of this anyways, was that you don't need the highest end graphics. You don't need all this fancy stuff.
Apparently not.
Yes.
I mean,
the more the price goes up, the harder it is to even look at this with any
seriousness.
Niche market. When I say niche market, you're probably thinking small market. But the truth is, the only way to challenge a giant like Nintendo, a giant like Sony, a giant like Microsoft is to take on 2, 3, 4 many niche markets. That's the only way Intellivision could have succeeded. And there are niche markets. This is a Nintendo 2DS. I purchased this for my daughter. She was 4 years old. All right. So this is not for my entertainment as an adult. For the first time I held this system, I thought, there's huge potential here for educational software. Language education. You can use a stylus with this. It can hear your voice. You can record your voice and hear it back. It has a camera. It can record your face. There's a 3D camera on the other side. There's so many ways in which there could be educational software on this. And I actually went out and bought 2 or 3 examples of educational software that were all terrible. Okay? I'm first to admit, educational software is a niche market. But guess what? For some small company, there's an opportunity to be the best. There are a lot of other areas in which Nintendo is the best. And you can't challenge Nintendo. And when you've got a niche like that, people will buy your system and they'll do more than one thing with it. They may buy your system and they may play a game that is imitating Super Mario Brothers on your system, whatever the hell it is you're doing, right? But there's some area you're excellent in. And to be really successful, it's got to be 2, 3, or 4 areas. Now, I just mentioned briefly, I have 2 different mobile phones I use in tandem now, okay? This has on it all of the best language education software you can get for learning Chinese as an English-speaking foreigner. Okay? It's not that great. I would say it's between lousy and mediocre. Very occasionally, there's an app I can praise as adequate. Okay? So on your system, on your hardware, whatever you're doing, this is an area in which you can be the best. It's a niche market, but niche markets are, for small companies, the only way forward, the only way to win. And guess what? I'd be the first one to recognize this. People like me, parents, buying video games for children, even though we're numbering in the millions, we are ourselves a niche market, for the most part ignored by a computer and video game industry that's focused on people aged 25 to 55, these fully grown men who spend a huge percentage of their monthly income and an even larger percentage of their monthly time playing video games. All right? So my hope was that the Intellivision Amico would provide an alternative for at least one of those niche markets. And you might say, well, that's crazy. Why would you think they have anything to do with educational software? Because historically, the 1979 Intellivision, that's why it was called the Intellivision. That's why it had that ridiculous controller with the numerical keyboard on it, right? It's USP, unique selling point. The way it differentiated itself in the market back in 1979 was saying, this is the video game system you can do your taxes on. This is the video game system that can teach your kids long division and math that has educational software. All right, educational software and productivity software, that was actually what set the original Intellivision apart. And then we have a new Intellivision coming out that in a really lazy way was just trading on nostalgia. And I feel it really failed to take advantage of the weakness of Nintendo's position in the market, the weakness of Sony's position in the market, the weakness of Microsoft's position in the market, because none of those are really selling a system that parents would want to buy for their children.
Da, 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 da.